Hey everybody, it's Matt. This is the 10-Minute Bible Hour podcast, and we are in the middle of trying to figure out exactly what Judas Iscariot's number is for how much he'd have to get paid to sell out his beloved friend and mentor to death. And last time around, we were talking about which particular currency probably would have been used so that we can get closer to knowing exactly what the number is in modern monetary figures to sell out your best friend and mentor. So we're in Matthew chapter 26, working on this. Verse 14, it says, "Then one of the 12, the one called Judas Iscariot, went to the chief priests and asked, 'What are you willing to give me if I hand him over to you?' So they counted out for him 30 silver coins. From then on, Judas watched for an opportunity to hand him over, but it doesn't say what kind of silver coins. So what we know is that pretty much with certainty, we're either talking about a Roman denarius, the plural of which is denarii. I know this. This is a thing that I do for a living. I went back and listened to the episode from last time around, and oh my goodness, I used the singular and the plural interchangeably a lot, and all of you were so polite as not to email me or correct me at all. That was really, really, really nice of you, and I want you to know that my failure to get that right, it definitely affected my tennis game over the weekend. I couldn't focus. I had a tough time being a parent. I just went out in the backyard and sat on the kids' swing set and looked off into space and wondered what I'm doing with my life. So it feels really good to get back here and to straighten that out. So the denarius is the base unit of Roman currency, and it represents a day's wage for most of the history of the Roman Republic and Roman Empire. But even though it represents a day's wage, the actual value of a denarius is always moving around a little bit because, as we've discussed many times, the emperors goofed around with the silver content, the total weight of denarius. But what we have figured out is that it is safe to say that a denarius, at the time we're talking about here, under the rule of Tiberius, we're going to say it's worth about $100 a day's wage. So if we're talking about 30 denarii here, that means that we're talking about 30 times 100, $3,000 in government-backed cash value. Now, the actual silver value of that is way, 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 way less in modern terms, because a denarius is 0.13 ounces of silver, or 4 grams roughly. That's how much silver was in each one of these coins during the reign of Tiberius. And so, all right, calculator app. I'm looking at my phone voice. All right, let's go with $23. Silver's down a little bit today. Okay, that's a modern U.S. value for a troy ounce of silver. A denarius is 4 grams of silver, 31.1 grams in a troy ounce. So that's about 0.13 ounces. So $23 per troy ounce, modern value, times 0.13. Yeah, we're talking about $3. $3 of actual metal value in modern terms. So if you got paid 30 denarii, that means that Judas Iscariot's metal value in modern terms to sell out his friend and mentor is about $90. So cheap. But it is also possible that what we're talking about here is a shekel. And we know that a shekel, most of which still would have been in circulation, would have been left over from the Hasmonean dynasty that was a result of the Maccabean revolt. That's what the Hanukkah holiday celebrates. Those independent Jewish kings issued currency. Those shekels, we know, have 11 grams. I still have the calculator out. 11 grams of silver per shekel. So that is 0.35 ounces of silver per coin. Again, we're going to go with $23 per troy ounce as your modern value times 0.35. That would be $8 a coin, which would mean that Judas Iscariot is going to need about $240 of modern mineral value in order to sell out his best friend and mentor to death. But right there, we're just talking about mineral value. If we go with the day's wage version, then a denarius, we're saying, is $100. If he got 30 of those, that's $3,000. $3,000 is what his number is. I still think that's really low, but let's give him the benefit of the doubt and imagine that it was the more expensive silver coin, the shekel. And I don't know. Okay, this is a problem right here. I have always read that the silver value of a denarius was 1/4 the silver value of a shekel. But my friends, I've done a lot of digging on this. I think that might be one of those things that somebody wrote down in a commentary once from hundreds of years ago, and then everybody just copies it. Because I have looked and looked and looked, and to me, it looks like a denarius is a little bit more than 1/3 of a shekel. So the denarius would be much more valuable in terms of silver content than it usually gets credit for. Those exchange rates varied from time to time in terms of their actual market value. So let's just go 1 to 3. So if instead we're talking about 30 shekels, then that would be 90 days' wages, and that'd be $9,000. I mean, that's pretty good money. I mean, you can do some things with $9,000. That's a big deal to me, but I don't know. I don't think I'm that high character a guy, but $9,000. I don't think I'd even sell out my enemy to their death for $9,000. I mean, you'd have to do a lot better than that because of the whole murder thing and somebody's going to die. I don't know what my number is. I hope I don't have one, but for a friend, dang, no way. I'll pay you $9,000 not to kill my friend. That is not an actual offer. Please, none of you start cooking up business schemes. Here's what I'm driving at. We're trying to figure out why Judas did this. I mean, we're trying to figure out what his number to sell out his friend is. To answer the bigger question of just what the heck is going on with this guy? What are you doing, dude? You're going to go down in history as the worst thing in all cultures, which is a backstabber. You're supposed to be the rear guard, and instead you just opened up the gate and let the monsters in to wreak their havoc and do horrible things. You're the absolute worst. You are marrying yourself to this reputation. Also, you've seen this guy break the laws of time and space repeatedly. He made some dude's arm grow back out of nothing. He made dead people come back to life. He controlled the weather. He knows the future. He can make matter appear from non-matter to feed gigantic crowds of people. What are you doing, man? After all that you've seen, why on earth would you do this? And after running these numbers with you over the last couple of days here, I just don't think we can attribute Judas's actions to greed alone. Now, look, as we're going to see as we look closer at him over the next few days, he is definitely labeled as greedy in the Bible. He's described as liking money an awful lot, but this isn't enough money to justify the action. I mean, listen to this. I actually have, hang on, I should have done this sooner. It's still going to be real cool, though. You can sort of hear that, maybe. What I have in my left hand that I just scraped off the table, because I do like old coins. I have got in my left hand denarii from this era right here. Like, seriously, they got emperors' faces on them and stuff. These all contain approximately 0.13 ounces of actual silver, so they still have value. These are a lot more affordable than you would think, by the way. You don't have to be rich to go buy old coins. They're just out there. You can buy them and look at them. It's kind of fun to hold in your hand. But this is exactly the kind of coinage that would have been in the little baggie that they handed off to Judas Iscariot. And I can tell you right now, I only have 5 here, so I got to multiply that by 6. But even if I had 30 of these, that don't weigh much. That's not a lot of jingling right there. And now listen to the paltry sound. These 5 coins, 1/6 of what Judas got paid if he got paid in denarii. Listen to how paltry this is. And as these clink on the table, just think about what a tiny amount this actually is to do what Judas did. Listen to this. That was it. Like, even if I did that 6 more times to get it up to 30, that's such light plinking. It's so little. And even if we're talking about shekels, I grabbed some little cheapo silver coins. These are 1/3 ounce novelty silver coins that I bought on the internet a while back to give to my kids when they do cool things. But just listen to these. Here's 4 of those. That's still not much. I guess I just made the point like 3 different ways, but whatever. You got to hear coins jingle around, and I think that's delightful and a way for us to connect and more than just words. But my point is, I don't buy the money explanation. It just simply is not enough money to justify this behavior. There is something else going on. But I think you're tracking with what I'm saying. The original audience wouldn't have had to do 2 episodes worth of mental math to figure out, like, wait a dang minute. For how much? Oh, come on. They would have immediately been like, that ain't enough. Wow, there's something else going on there, and I couldn't tell you. The same way, if somebody gives you the description of a business deal or some kind of behavior that somebody undertook for a certain amount, and that amount just does not explain it, you would just know intuitively. You would immediately have a reaction to be like, nah, no way. I don't know what the whole story is there, but I certainly am not getting it from you. There is more to this deal. The money just doesn't justify the action. I think we can put ourselves in those historical shoes and come to that conclusion here as well, which means that we've now explored a handful of explanations for Judas's behavior. Maybe he was jealous. Maybe he was mad that some lady was getting credit and he didn't get credit. Maybe he just really liked money. We considered that maybe he saw the writing on the wall and just didn't want to go down with the ship. But none of these explanations really seem to get it done, which means we got to keep picking at it a little bit if we want to get to the bottom of how the original audience would have understood his behavior and how we, as readers of the document, are supposed to understand his behavior. The mystery persists, although now we do at least have a pretty decent sense of what the actual financial value is to Judas Iscariot to sell out a dear friend or mentor to death. And I think that's helpful data. Thanks for hanging out with me and listening to my old coins. I'm Matt. This is the 10-Minute Bible Hour podcast. Let's do this again soon.